The Sennheiser XSW-D and the included ME2 microphone have quickly become my favorite wireless lavalier system. In this video I will compare that to the Rode Wireless GO2 with the Rode Lavalier Go, which is not included with the Wireless GO2, but it's clearly intended to be used with it. If you're interested only in the sound comparison, then skip ahead to this timestamp. My favorite thing about the XSW-D is the fact that you can get it with two different types of receivers. You can get either a 3.5mm version, much as the Rode, which you will just plug into your mic input on your camera. But you can also get it as an XLR version, which means that you can connect it to an XLR mixer that you might put on top of your camera, or you can plug it directly into your field recorder without the use of a 3.5 to XLR adapter. And that makes it much neater, either in a sound bag or even if you just have the recorder on a table or mounted to a light stand or something. I own both because I've found both to be incredibly useful in different situations. Now, unfortunately, the XLR version cannot be powered by a phantom power, which was a really cool feature of the Sennheiser AVX wireless system. And the AVX system also allowed you to get extra batteries for the transmitter, which was awesome. Unfortunately, the AVX system was plagued with clipping in every recording that I ever made with it, and I actually made a video about that, and you can find that in the description below. But the newer XSW-D has far less latency than the older AVX system. It is also much cheaper than the AVX system, but yeah, it does miss some of those more professional features of the AVX. The XSW-D really only has two major cons, and the first is that there is no adjustment of the output gain for the receiver, which means that if you have a camera with very hot preamps where you cannot set the preamp gain very low, such as the GH5, you will clip any recording that you try to make with the XSW-D. So if you're using a GH5 or a similar camera, then that is a deal breaker. But if you're using a Nikon or something else with crappy preamps, then it is actually a plus because you can set the gain much lower on the Nikon. The other con is more of an annoyance than a deal breaker, and it is the fact that the only way you can judge battery level is by looking at one LED on either the transmitter or the receiver. When the battery gets very low, it starts to blink. It will also blink in different ways if it's not getting a signal. I can't be bothered to memorize what the different sequences mean. The battery life is long enough that you don't really need to worry about it on most shoots that I've been on. So yeah, just an annoyance. The Rode, on the other hand, has a lot going for it in terms of features. As I mentioned, it has an LCD which tells you the battery status not only of the receiver but also of the transmitter. And with the Rode Wireless GO2, you can buy a set that includes two transmitters that connect to the same receiver, and you can get a stereo out with the two transmitters separated onto two different tracks. So that is fantastic and something that Sennheiser does not offer. The Rode Wireless GO2 does not include a lavalier. You will have to purchase that separately if you want to use one, but it does include a built-in microphone, which has proven to be very useful in many situations. The Rode Wireless GO2 also allows you to toggle a pad on and off, a 20 dB pad, if you want to make sure that you don't clip the loudest parts of your recording, which was a big problem with the original Rode Wireless Go. So the Sennheiser does not include that option, but I have never had clipping issues with the Sennheiser. Perhaps the greatest pro that the Rode has over the Sennheiser is the fact that you can record internally in the transmitter, meaning that you don't necessarily even need the receiver, or even if you're using the receiver, you get a backup in the transmitter in case you had connection issues or anything like that. That is an amazing feature, which is unfortunately missing from the XSW-D. Especially compared to the Rode, the ME2 lavalier is quite big, so it's difficult to hide under clothing. The alligator clip that is included with the ME2 is also very basic, whereas the alligator clip that comes with the Rode lavalier is much nicer and allows you to do a broadcast loop very easily. So in the feature department, the Rode pretty much wipes the floor with the Sennheiser. But it is in sound quality where Sennheiser absolutely demolishes the Rode. We will listen to all the different variations first with the Rode and Sennheiser lavaliers on their own transmitters. We will also listen to the ME2 on both the Rode and the Sennheiser transmitters, and as well as the Rode lavalier on both the Rode and Sennheiser transmitters. And then we'll get back to analysis of the results. Soup of the day implies another, possibly even seductive, soup of the night. Soup of the day implies another, possibly even seductive, soup of the night. She sells seashells on the seashore. She sells seashells on the seashore. Soup of the day implies another, possibly even seductive, soup of the night. Soup of the day implies another, possibly even seductive, soup of the night. She sells seashells on the seashore. She sells seashells on the seashore. Soup of the day implies another, possibly even seductive, soup of the night. Soup of the day implies another, possibly even seductive, soup of the night. She sells seashells on the seashore. She sells seashells on the seashore. The Sennheiser XSW-D has a high-pass filter, which the Rode Wireless GO2 does not have, but it is tuned low enough that it doesn't really it doesn't get even close to the frequencies of my voice, for example. The Sennheiser sounds a lot more full, it has more body, it has more air in the high treble, and it's less harsh compared to the Rode. The Rode also has a lot of hiss, a lot of self-noise, which you will have to deal with before you send anything to a client. Most of the self-noise in the Rode setup comes from the Rode lavalier, but the Rode Wireless GO2 also has more self-noise. Compared to the Rode lavalier, the Sennheiser ME2 has about a 1 to 2 dB boost around 100 Hz, which is right around the fundamental of my voice, and that is why it has a lot more body. The Sennheiser also has a much better response in the high treble, in the above 10K frequency range. This gives it a lot more air. It gives a feeling of openness. It feels more open than the Rode. So overall, the Rode sounds thinner, harsher, lispier, spittier, noisier, more mid-forward, less open than the Sennheiser. So yeah, to me the Sennheiser is clearly the winner over the Rode in terms of sound quality, and in the end that is really the most important thing. There are some situations where sound quality is not quite as important, and in those situations the convenient features of the Rode definitely make a case for themselves. Now you can of course try to improve the sound from the Rode lavalier by applying this EQ, which will more or less match it with the Sennheiser ME2, as well as applying voice isolation in DaVinci Resolve to get rid of the hiss. I hope you found that helpful. Thanks for watching.